If you enjoyed the channel and our video content and would like to support us, you can do this in a couple of ways. You can sign up to our Patreon site, which is a monthly subscription to one of our 4 tiers, each giving you something different from early access interviews up to exclusive unseen footage. There's also the option of a one-off donation via PayPal, which allows you the option to donate an amount of your choice. Both options really help to keep this channel going and to continue putting out regular content for you good folk. So please take a look at aircrewinterview.tv/donate, and I thank you in advance. Thank you and enjoy. So Andy, you applied for the RAF. Can you tell us about your process through this and what trade you went to go for?
I can. It's a very long process. It depends on the friends that I went with had a completely different experience to me. I think it all depends on various factors. There's a lot of stuff going on. I applied to be an engineer, which is one of the top trades in the RAF, and I was fortunate enough to get that. The process was long. It took 2 years for me. The guys that I were with, one of them was 6 months. I needed to take a fitness test. He didn't. So things do change. So if it's, if any of the viewers apply, it could easily change from what I had. But initially, you apply to the AFCO, your Armed Forces Career Office, or your nearest one, and mine was in Gloucester. They will invite you for an AST or an aircrew selection test. So it's basically maths, 3D orientation, exercises, IQ sort of Mensa style, this sort of thing. And there's almost a little sort of trick to the test. The test itself is a test.
Right.
And they say you've got to answer as many of things as you can, and you do. And you have to sort of pick one way you're going to go, and luckily I picked the right way. And at the end of that, they give you a big sheet on how you did, and mine was all green, which meant that every trade was available.
Wow.
I was like, wow, I've never had this before. It was really, really cool. After you've had that, they then ask you back for a formal interview where you go in and they judge you on everything you do, everything you say, if you make inappropriate humor,
wow.
If you literally, everything you do, say, everything you move, everything, the way everything is examined. Mine went extremely well, which I thought, I hadn't done very well. And the girl said, oh no, you've done really, really well. Brilliant officer material. Go for it. Brilliant. I was like, okay.
What happened?
Then you get invited for a fitness test. The fitness test, I won't go into the details. You can find that on the RAF website, because it depends on your age. Because I'm an old git, I didn't have to do as much running. I didn't have to do as much jumping around and sit-ups and press-ups and all the other things you have to do. So my running training, I hate running. I do gym work a lot, but I hate running with a passion. And I had to become a runner. And I had to do 1.5 miles in, I think it was 12 minutes and 53 seconds, which I did, having not been very well and having been off, and it was a nightmare. And I went to the fitness test and I just ran my bits off and it worked. So, it was really, really good. I got one thing it's worth mentioning, I got a unfit for service. And this became, because I said you get a doctor's appointment first as well. And he said, before you get your fitness test, you get a doctor's appointment. And I just said, I've had some knee pain. I went to the physio last week. Right, you're unfit for service. No, there's no problem with my knee. That they said you can carry on training. It's all good. And he said, no, you just told me that. Wrote me off for 3 months. And it felt at the time like the end of the world. This happens an awful lot. One of my other friends that I met there, he had the same thing with his back. He went off looking for other jobs, and then they called him up and said, yeah, it's fine, go for it. The process is enormously convoluted. It's a very, very long thing, but because they need the right people in, you've got to be right. So it is very exhaustive. So don't worry if you do apply. Do not worry if you get one of these unfit for services thing. It happens a lot. You usually just fix it, you sort it out, and off you go. And then it's all good. And it was for me. And 3 months later, did the fitness test, absolutely smashed it. Cool, happy days, as they say a lot in the RAF. After that, you then fill in a form. It's the mother of all forms, and it's a vetting to be on. It's a vetting thing to allow you to be on MOD property, and to, you know, all the sort of secret stuff that goes on. You've got to kind of, you've got to fill this unbelievably. It took me 4 hours. So prepare for a very long journey when you join the Royal Air Force. It takes a very, very long time. But then eventually you get a letter or you get an email, this wonderful email, and it says, congratulations, you were now accepted into the Royal Air Force and your training will commence in thing. And you're just, I there was a tear in my eye when that turned up, I have to say. I'm a grown man, but it was like, it was so much pressure and so much stuff, and it was just like, wow, I've done it. So it is a very long time. It does, and it can take a while. But, you know, nothing that's worth doing is easy in this life, as I'm sure everybody knows. And you forget about it all, really. I'm having to remember it now for the interview, but, you know, you forget about it, and then you go to Holt, and then you've got loads of other things to worry about there. Not filling in forms and doing tests. So so that's, you know, essentially the process all the way through until you join up on the final day. And then they give you they give you sort of not interviews, but they do a little Skype call to introduce themselves all. And just before you come, you get a list, an exhaustive list of things you need that goes on forever and ever and ever. And it's, you know, you bring all this stuff and everyone arrives on the day and there's just packages and clocks and irons and ironing boards, and it's bedlam, but it's fun. This is all judged on the AST score, the Air Force's selection test. So each trade has it's a strangely done system, but it works. And they give you your score that you get on each bracket of, because during the test there's sort of different subjects within it. So I don't sort of go into it. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about it, but yeah. There's practice ones online, so you can, if anyone's thinking of go on the thing, you can just go and do the test, which is what I did. I did it a few times, and you sort of get used to what you're going to, you know, you can see what's you're expecting to see on the day. So what happens is once you've finished it, they go away and get the results, and each trade has a score it needs in particular things. So avionics you might need to be extremely good with maths, or, you know, if you're going to be a mover, you know, logistics, or if you're going to be a lorry driver, they've got air hostesses and male hosts, I suppose it would be. One of the corporals that taught me was one of those. He says, you know, I'm just a trolley dolly, and he was built like a brick outbuilding. And I was like, some trolley dolly, okay. The avionics and engineer are the top two trades in the Air Force. There's also there's sort of interpretation and linguistics and stuff. They have very high marks, so you've got to have a quite high mark to pass those.
Right.
Engineer is probably one of the most sought after trades in the Royal Air Force, beyond pilot. Not that pilots are available for NCOs, obviously that's officer stuff. But once, you know, yes, there is a sort of a hierarchy with the results. It's designed. If you've got someone that wants to be a lorry driver, and there are people, I was with them, and they wanted to do it. There's people that went off to, there's RAF Reg, there's avionics guys, there's lots of engineers because they had a shortage. So, you know, that's the way it works. So yes, there is a hierarchy there.
When you were like joining or like applying for a job, would you be thinking like, I want to go to a certain type, so like Typhoon or C-17 or anything like that, or do you not get a choice?
You can ask when you've finished and you're sort of getting towards what's called your phase 2 training. So phase 1 is Halton, which is your sort of basic training. That's drill. That's polishing shoes, all that sort of stuff. Once you've finished all that and tests and exams, learning about the RAF, after that you get the next stage, which is the Armed Forces Protection Training, because they expect you to be a soldier. Once you've finished all that and you've graduated, and you go off and you do your phase 2 training, and that's at Cosford, or it can be, it's all over the place. There's Honiton, I think, is the RAF Reg go there. The lorry drivers go somewhere else. It's split up. So once you're getting towards the end of your phase 2 training, you can then apply to where you want to go to. Now, They will take into account where you want to be. So one of my friends was from Scotland, and he asked to go to Lossiemouth because that's, he lives in Edinburgh or Aberdeen or wherever it was he lives, which he got. My other friend, I don't think he minded where he was, so he's off to Odium to service Chinooks. But if you want to, I wanted to do jets, so you can ask, and you give I think you have to give 3. I think it's 3 things. You give, like, I'll go for, well, I want to do jets, so I want to do Coningsby, then Lossiemouth, then I sort of don't care after that, because that's what I want to do. Or you can say, I want to do transport planes. I want to do, this, and then, or I want to service helicopters, in which case, there you go. I mean, apparently, I think someone didn't want to go to the Red Arrows, and they went to the Red Arrows. Why you wouldn't want to go to the Red Arrows, I don't know, but someone didn't, and they ended up there anyway. It depends on what the Air Force needs. It depends on what the current, operations are. It's very sort of driven, but they do their best to get you where you want to be. And that's sort of basically the way it works. So you've got a small say, but RAF is obviously comes first. And if they need you somewhere else, then you will go somewhere else. Yeah, it was just very, very long-winded. It took a very, very long time just to get dates. I was on the phone to the AFCO all of the time saying, can you please get me into there? And it just took ages. And then when I arrived there, my friend, 6 months he'd taken him, and he was straight in, didn't need to take a fitness test. I said, you didn't need to take a fitness test. I've been breaking my head over this, and he was, no, I haven't done one yet. I've highlighted sort of the broad sort of, there's sections that happen. You get the test, you get the interview, you get the doctor's appointment, medical, where you've got to do a few press-ups and sit-ups and jumping up and down. Then you've got to fill in this massive vetting form. Then you've got to do the fitness test. And it just all took a very, 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 very long time, which is very frustrating, because in the meantime, you're trying to hold down, you're trying to train, you're trying to hold down a job. If you're very young, most people are kind of young and they probably just come out of school, so there's not that issue. If you're a bit older, it's a bit more difficult, because obviously you've got rents and bills to pay.
Yeah.
It's a quite different experience, I think, when you're a bit older. Halton is much more difficult when you're an older chap, because when you're 17, you're made of rubber and nothing matters, and you haven't got kids to worry about, whereas I did. But the process is, it's just very long. You've just got to just take one thing at a time that they throw at you and just do your best at it. And as long as you're smart every time you see them, as long as you're polite every time you see them, committed, that's what they're after. Just you need to read up on an interview. I mean, they will, like, the interview is, you get quite nervous about it, and a lot of people get nervous about interviews. Looking up how to do a good interview, I would recommend. Learning as much as you can about the RAF. The aircraft, the bases, what the RAF does, because they can ask you all sorts of things. I learnt the entire RAF motto before I went, and they didn't even ask me it. So, get a broad idea of what happens. Yeah. And you'll be okay and calm. And, luckily my father had taught me how to interview well when I left school. So I always remembered how to do it. And yes, it went mine went very well. The best bit of advice is the advice that the corporals give you almost day one. Do what they say. Do what they tell you to do, and do it when they tell you to do it, and you'll get out. And it's as simple as that. It is very, very, very hard. It is designed to make you want to leave. It is hell on earth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to go there and say, it's like going to Butlins.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's very, very harsh. But, you look back on it and it's pretty cool. And your friends will get you through it. If you have, people have hard times. I did. Other people did. But just do what they tell you to do. And when to do it then. And that will work. And you will get through it and you will be fine.
So I know you are a big flight sim guy, and you're a big Hornet fan, aren't you?
I am a bit of a big Hornet fan, yes. I think if you cut me in half, I've got Hornet written on the inside of me. I like lots of aircraft, but having flown the Hornet, hundreds of hours of Hornet in DCS, it's just an amazing aircraft. It's the displays at RIAT were incredible. They're on YouTube if anyone wants to watch them, and the stuff that they're able to do, and they're versatile and they're pretty, and they've got that whole, I grew up in the 80s and they're an 80s plane. Yes, I've just got the Spitfire.
As you can see over there, yeah.
That's me. That's one of my friends. And
nice.
they've been flying, always. And the flying. The sim flying is a very big part of their life. It's a lot of fun. I get to fly. I was flying last weekend. Australians, a Dutchman, some Canadians, some English guys.
Wow.
It's a big international team that we belong to. So it's fantastic fun. Fantastic fun.
And because I know DCS is a big thing, across the world, as you say.
Yeah.
Is it like a group that people maybe can find you and join if they're into DCS?
Yeah, sure. I'm a member of MVP, it's called. You can find them on Discord, which is Mugger Virtual Pilot. And that's my friend Mugger. He's based in Australia. And we're a great group, and we do lots and lots of flying, and we do lots of aerobatics and missions and all kinds of stuff we do. It's all simulated, but it's an enormous amount of fun. The Hornet pilot that I met at RIAT trained on a Hornet on DCS before he flew the real one. So
wow, really?
Yeah. The Canadian, the French Air Force use it. I think the US Marines possibly use it, I believe, and there's various other military people that we don't know that use it.
Wow.
So, and I think the RAF are possibly looking at it as well. It's very, very, very good. And I know they've got an F-16 in the game, and or the sim, and I know of an F-16 pilot who was going through training, and he got on the real one, and he said it's exactly the same. It's that good.
Wow.
So if you want to know what it's like to fly a Spitfire, and there's a Tornado, the FDI-3 is coming to DCS, which I know is your favourite.
Absolutely. No one knows that yet, but yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
I know, yeah.
Everybody knows that. So
Brilliant.
That's probably be a while, but if anything can get you into DCS, I think that might.
Absolutely, yes. The only thing will get me into it. But Andy, can we find you online? Are you on Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
I'm on Instagram. I don't really use Instagram. I don't really get on with Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I think I'm under AGM Racing on Twitter. Okay. I'm also on YouTube. I do DCS videos on YouTube. Nice. So if you look up, it's 10+7832 on YouTube. And I've done a few DCS videos recently, so I've got about 4 now. So I need some views on that. So anyone who wants to tune in to a bit of YouTubery, yes, but yeah, that's where I am.
But thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
It's been an honour to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Mike.